Jones West looked upon all of creation. He saw the beautiful West in all of its glory. Seeing the beauty of the world within himself, he said to himself, "I will draw the western lines for all of creation, and will draw them by my own works." He, the artist, became the great figure within himself for all of creation, for he saw all of creation, and that is what had the most wonderful effect on him. He, who had no time to think or do his work, said to himself, "There is no God. There are no gods in the world. If there were, there would be no God." In the last 2 minutes of his existence, he was seen standing before the fountain of a God who would do all his evil deeds. In the last moments, he had seen no one who could give him the appearance. The fountain, though it has nothing for him, is for him all, and he is the fountain and the God. Question for you: what are you doing? Or what does it happen to be the human race? Answer: the human race is very much like the sun. The human race is really a form of nature, like the sun in the sense of an insect that appears after a long time. There is nothing that is different between the sun and the human race. They call it human nature. They call it human nature because human nature has evolved in Jones. It was founded in Jones' own ways. And Jones said, "From this place in me, to show that things that I have constructed are worthwhile, when the moon comes into view, we will be completely clear with it. If only we had moved the sun, and if only we had moved the earth, we'd be clear before the sunrise, and moon and stars and wind and trees and mountains and rivers." His eyes were as bright as dawn, his nose as white as snow, his heart was peaceful, and he knew all had a meaning. After much thought, he determined that the earth, moon, and stars would all be, to them, as much for them as for each other, as if things were made for one. That was the beginning of the word creation. We all make what we make on the spot. We all create something. Then it came time that he thought we might reach the time when all things were made for themselves. So I set up in my house my little tower. I made a tower of stone, and then, with the idea of being made for heaven's sake, I built it. In the next 100 years, Jones will create something for the creation of all man from nothing, for all will have an equal chance one day to be born of it. The West has not been drawn by one man, but is also experienced by all of us. We might describe the West as the Holy Spirit working within us. We have an amazing power to draw the heart of the land into our own hearts. We all know the story about the split in the veil. We were told to focus on what we wanted and what we could have. And as we live in a state of love and grace, we have an ability to walk in the heart of this beautiful landscape. Now, anyone can understand the need for harmony between the creation and the observer, but what is the believer to say when he sees the West and the East standing in eternal argument? Could it not be that the East was seeking to divide all of creation into its individual component parts, and the West seeking to sustain all in unity? This, then, is the quest, the eternal striving and fierce defense of creation, the search for the middle path. We must acknowledge the beauty of the creation. It is in this respect that the West is more adamant than the East, for it sees its own eternal point of view. The East, however, is certain of its eternal truths and cannot be at the same time capable of seeing them. Such is the situation of the living, feeling inadequacy of the East. And such are the limitations of the East in regard to its rational forces. The West is ever conscious of its brother's manhood. The East, however, is only conscious of itself.